Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Did Solo Leveling Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
I'm really impressed, Naruto, Kakashi exclaimed. Naruto strolled along the pond with a smug smile on his face. He was stepping onto the water foot after foot now, not even needing to think. Naruto growled, "I told you, Sensei. Now, about that bet we made." Yeah, I'll think of something and teach it to you later." After jumping out of the pond, Naruto made his way to the training area where Sakura and Sasuke were waiting. Something told the blonde that telling Sasuke about the water exercise wouldn't be a good idea. Sasuke continued his tree exercise. His kune mark had obviously improved, but it was still far from perfect. Another time, Sasuke jumped off the tree, this time releasing his foot from the wood at approximately 3/4 of the way. I suppose now is a better time than ever to start helping him. Naruto called out to the exhausted genin, "Hey, Sasuke?" Sasuke gave Naruto a startled second glance before readjusting his expression. "What do you want?" Naruto smiled. "I'm here to help you." It felt good to say that. The ninja with raven hair snarled and then nodded slowly, accepting. "What do I do?" "Well, having seen you attempt the exercise itself, I can give some tips." The main issue with you right now is that you're unable to keep the chakra to your legs for enough time. That could be because you've put too much chakra into your legs, which would be impossible to control," said Naruto. Sasuke said, "And how do I put less chakra?" How do you know how much chakra to put in a fire jutsu versus a clone? Try and find that difference and apply it here." He was met with an alien-like stare from Sasuke. "That's oddly smart coming from you." Naruto grimaced. "Yeah, whatever. I need the jutsu once we return to Konoha, by the way." With a snort, Sasuke ran back towards the tree. Naruto knew Sasuke would eventually figure it out, so he didn't need to search any further. Besides, he was looking forward to something even bigger. 2 points for attributes, too. He simply wasn't sure what to do exactly, which is why he hadn't added the points until now, not because he was a particularly patient person. Naruto Uzumaki's name. Title: The Enthusiast. Vocation: Konoha Genin. Level 7. HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra 2000. STR 6. Vit 10. Dex 6. Int 5. Wise 3. Luck 1. Present competencies. Jutsu Shadow Clone Level 3. Category: Not applicable. Points for attributes 2. Is now the right time to improve my wisdom and luck? With a scratch at the back of his head, Naruto asked himself. Considering how high his Vit stat was, he could maintain it that way for a very long time. Strength could use some work. The 3 statistics that needed the most improvement were luck, intelligence, and wisdom. Well-rounded strategy, huh? But even though he could immediately see the difference in his ability when he increased the other stats, something about increasing his alleged luck and wisdom just felt so wrong. Naruto let out a sigh, his mind knotted tight with the decision. "I'll just have to settle for Shikamaru." But not entirely. Boost your power and intelligence with my attribute points. Used is the attribute point. 1 point has been added to strength. Used is the attribute point. 1 point has been added to wisdom. Naruto hesitated a moment, attempting to detect a distinction. He felt no more informed. What a swindle! He moaned to himself in despair. Naruto peered further into the forest, thinking he might be able to train by himself for a while. Oh no! Naruto winced with exhaustion as he dashed through the forest's treetops, his endurance relatively low despite the vast quantity. It was extremely exhausting to train for hours on end against your own supercharged clones, especially since it required your own chakra. Fortunately, the sun was still shining, so finding Inari's house again wasn't too tough. In about 10 minutes or less, Naruto would be able to recognize the well-traveled path leading to their now weekly residence. Leave my mom alone. Inari? Ignoring all of his exhaustion, Naruto pushed his endurance to the breaking point, telling his legs to carry him even faster. Yada! Naruto slammed his fist into the enemy's face just before a sword sliced through the young boy, pushing just in time to knock him into the water across from the docks. One additional individual was present. Worried, Naruto turned to face Inari. "Are you okay?" BB behind Y. The katana suddenly stopped in front of Naruto's neck, shining. Naruto smiled. "Don't worry, these guys ain't nothing for me." Ultimately, the clone had sufficient ability to handle the other man. With timidity, Inari questioned, "Why? Why did you even come here?" "Why? Oh, I was training by myself for a while, and the others kind of left without me. So I assumed they would be here, but I guess they aren't." Inari gave a nod. "Regardless, I'm glad you proved me wrong, Inari. A real sissy wouldn't have stood up against those guys like that. Hell, I'm not sure I would have done that when I was your age. You're strong, really strong," Naruto said, turning his back on Inari. He had to leave. How would the bridge itself be if, of all people, they sent bandits after Inari's family? With whom would they be contending? Naruto knew exactly who. "Stay safe. I gotta go now. Heroes continue to be heroes after all." "Yeah," exclaimed Inari. With one final smile, Naruto turned and fled. His smile gradually turned into a serious frown. This was not going to go well at all, could it? Stepping onto the bridge, Naruto attempted to assess the players nearby. "Alright, I tried. It was nearly impossible to do so due to the mist, but it was also very simple to figure out who was responsible. While Zabuza was being fought by Kakashi-sensei, Naruto wouldn't be shocked if Sasuke and Sakura were currently engaged in combat with Haku. With great care, Naruto moved slowly into the mist, being careful not to wake anyone, especially not Zabuza. Once inside, he had a clear view of what was going on. His earlier assumption was accurate, but Sakura was assisting Tazuna in keeping an eye on him, and Tazuna was also on the bridge. What's that ice dome? Haku's martial arts? At first, Naruto intended to ambush Haku covertly. But as soon as he saw Sasuke's bloody corpse, the whole plan was abandoned. She wasn't the kind person I thought she was. She is fully committing to Sasuke. Furious, Naruto pondered. He noticed an opening, and his eyes grew wide. He accepted the risk. As Haku stumbled onto the bridge, a small shuriken sliced through his shoulder. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Without saying another word, Naruto entered the combat zone. Going into action. Skill, Level 2 activated Uchiha Clan Taijutsu. Every minute, usage consumes 20 MP points. Naruto gave battle to the boy wearing a mask. Naruto grinned and said, "Let's test your taijutsu, shall we?" Haku said, almost as if they weren't even rivals. "Ah, I'm assuming you've completed the water walking exercise by now?" Naruto scowled. Why bring that up again now? He disregarded the query she posed. Suddenly, Naruto's clones invaded, hoping to overwhelm Haku with their overwhelming size and quantity. The blonde herself launched herself into the air and softly landed behind Haku. He took great care to aim a punch at Haku's back, but he was too preoccupied with his many other clones, even though they were getting fewer by the minute. This punch could not possibly miss, could it? False. Not only did Haku avoid the blow, but he also quickly deflected all of the force by swiveling his legs and pushing Naruto's fist to the side. How come? A moment later, the missing nin sent him flying with a silent kick, and he barely managed to avoid another one when Haku's loose clothing creaked just a little. He had not realized before, but part of the deadly nature of Haku's taijutsu lay in its silence. Haku's movements were much more subtle before they actually struck, because Naruto was unable to hear any movement from her before she struck. It was a fight between Haku's and the Uchiha taijutsu. While the Uchiha Taijutsu seemed to be generally much more effective, Haku's was even more effective in the mist, where senses such as sound were much more important. Naruto couldn't win if this battle went on much longer. For now, it would be best to withdraw. To deal with Haku, or to slow him down temporarily, Naruto called forth more clones. He needed to locate Sasuke. Was he inside? Hey. Naruto's voice echoed in Sasuke's ear, making him jump a little. Sasuke half shrieked, an unusual sound coming from the Uchiha. You came inside? Why not? Naruto asked with a small shrug. You have no idea just what that guy can do in here. He's... There, as Naruto noticed Haku's reflection in one of the mirrors, he pondered. Naruto moaned under the unexpected pressure in his back as Senbin impaled themselves into him. Soon after, his orange jumpsuit was covered in blood. Despite their wincing, Naruto and Sasuke got up right away, indicating that the pain wasn't too great. Naruto exclaimed, "We need to get the hell out of here." Sasuke yelled back, "I'm trying, idiot." A flurry of hand signals later, red-hot fire was directed toward the ice dome's other side. A portion of the fire reflected, spreading heat throughout the enclosure. But in vain. Deflated, Naruto peered around. What else could melt ice if fire couldn't? But wait, a little bit of the ice had melted. Haku's voice resounded throughout the dome. You think your fire can beat a pinnacle of Kikai Genkai? The two were thrown some more senbin. On this occasion, they managed to sidestep a good number of them, but not all of them. In a desperate attempt to predict where Haku would next appear, Naruto raced around the dome. What was almost unfeasible. He felt nothing but pain as more and more things pierced his body, causing his blood to flow outward. This is unfair. I don't currently have any jutsu to counter Haku, even with my leveling ability. Is this the end? The senbin came to an end. Amazing, the Sharingan. But will that change the result? Naruto got ready for another hurl. It was still too fast though. Sasuke yelled, "Naruto, to the right." He followed Sasuke's instructions since he had no other choice. Naruto was not hit by anything. Sasuke had a red glow in his eyes. Now perhaps they had a chance to win. Using the same jutsu that Kakashi possessed, Sasuke's power increased significantly. Naruto would normally be jealous, but for the moment, survival appeared to be more important. Shaking himself upright quickly, Naruto raced back towards Sasuke. If he was going to defeat Haku at this moment, he needed his guidance. Sasuke's gaze quickly swung around. Above us. When Sasuke jumped out of the way, he saw that Naruto had not followed suit. His crimson eyes expanded. Did he? Naruto had leaped into the air. Naruto grappled Haku's hands to the side as he encountered the lightning-fast Haku in the middle of his teleportation-type jutsu, then kicked him in the torso to deflect the blow away from his intended target. At last, a straight hit. He didn't stop there, though. They quickly called forth clones, grabbed Haku's flying body, and returned it to Naruto. With a loud and painful thump, the blonde slammed his foot into Haku's back, sending him onto the bridge floor. By now, it had to be over. Without thinking, Naruto put his kunai around Haku's neck and stabbed him in the inside. Into the sea. A clone of water? Haku said, "I'm sorry, Shinobi," from somewhere behind him. Beside Sasuke's motionless corpse, Haku's senbin remained pierced through the Uchiha's neck. Naruto stopped breathing. Haku bowed thoughtfully. It's amazing, really, to have found such a loyal comrade. He definitely could have dodged the projectiles at the last second, considering his own Kikai Genkai, but doing so would have made you the target instead. Fury. You must be one of his own precious people, for him to react in such a way. If it means anything, I'm sorry for killing your comrade, but it was for my own survival, if anything else. Shinobi are born. Rage. Please do not take it to heart. Pow. They is seeking to give you a chakra. Are you on board? In agreement or disagreement? Haku, you're going to die. A low growl came from Naruto. I don't think. After vanishing into thin air, Naruto reappeared beside Haku. And your death will be especially painful. He pushed Haku through ice mirrors by launching a hook at his stomach. The impact caused glass shards to burst, piercing the previously impenetrable dome of ice. Naruto glared at the creature as a tornado of red chakra burst around his body that rolled onto the bridge, resembling a rag doll. No forgiveness. Naruto struck Haku in the face with a kick that split his mask in two. Haku's body spun across the bridge's floor before he was able to regain his equilibrium. However, it had already ended. Haku was prepared to give up, exhausted, bleeding, and up against an opponent who seemed unbeatable. With slowly open eyes, he stood up and acknowledged his impending death. I'm unable to. Naruto momentarily parried his blow. Haku's mask flew from his face in a gust of wind, exposing the woman's face to the bridge's open mist. His facial whiskers became less prominent, his eyes took on a regular azure blue hue, and the red chakra that encircled his body vanished. Silently, Naruto stared at the boy in front of him. Your friend is dead, killed by me, and you still won't kill me. In an instant, Naruto's anger surged, but he controlled it by keeping up his punches to Haku's face. You've become weaker. What exactly was that form earlier? Not like it matters. Naive people seem to think that letting their opponents live is an act of kindness, but not for me. You've shattered my reason for living. A weak shinobi like me isn't worthy enough to help Master Zabuza, so please kill me. Naruto was unable to resist. He chuckled, astonished. What's so great about him? He's a monster. He kills for fun. How can he be anyone's precious person? Haku grinned. Maybe you see him as so. But in the darkness of my times, Zabuza was the one who helped me the most. If I'm no use to the one I'm living for, what's the point of continuing to live? This kind of reasoning is just awful. I detest it. So you give up after being beaten once? What about all of the training you did to come so far? Was that all useless, Haku? Haku gave a nod. Yes. Shouting, "You're hopeless," was Naruto. He moved quickly to raise the kunai. He would get right on this. Haku's eyes grew wildly wide. The absent nin had vanished. It wasn't the right one, but Kakashi felt his Chidori impale itself into a body. Did his accomplice give up everything for him? Kakashi thought to himself, incredulous. Master. Haku muttered softly. Kakashi, you were wrong once more, Zabuza laughed. His gray eyes, which had begun to stare back at Kakashi's, were painted red. Zabuza yelled, laughing aloud, Thank Kami I helped the boy back then, if not, I'd be dead by now. Ha ha ha. He attempted to sever Kakashi with a swipe of his sword, but it was completely missed as Kakashi grabbed Haku's body and leaped backwards. Holding onto his kunai, Naruto halted when Kakashi spoke to him. Don't, this is my fight, Naruto. Despite clenching his teeth, Naruto remained motionless. Yes, he probably wouldn't have survived if he had challenged Zabuza to a duel, but that didn't matter to him. Naruto. Sakura's voice made Naruto wince. Thank God you're alive. Let's get Sasuke and get out of here with Tazuna-san. Kakashi-sensei can handle this now. Naruto pointed to Sasuke's body, which was partially obscured by the mist, and said, Sakura. After observing Sakura and Tazuna walk away and towards Sasuke's body, Naruto turned his focus back to the battle in front of him. Zabuza was slowly taken apart by Kakashi, whose slow movements made it simple to predict who would oppose him, a task that was made even simpler for someone wielding a Sharingan. Kakashi then engaged in a vicious combat maneuver where he demobilized both of Zabuza's arms. The Demon of the Mist was met with a chilly reply from the Jonin. No more jutsus or mist to hide behind, Zabuza. It's over. Clack. Well, well, well. That man definitely made a fine fool of you, demon. A pity, if you die, how will I give you the proper fees? Glancing over the other side of the bridge, Naruto noticed a rather short man making his way slowly toward the trio. A group of bandits with their own weapons gathered behind him. The man exuded shady business with his jagged hairline, small, black sunglasses, black shit, and purple tie. Gato, what's all this about? Zabuza demanded savagely. Naruto retreated a step. Business, Zabuza. I'm going to kill you now. So say your final prayers to the world, please. Don't worry, no one is going to miss you, hee hee. Someone would? What's the meaning of this? You really think I would pay that amount for you? Never. I'm a businessman, not running a charity. You're infamous around these areas and incredibly skilled. Trying to betray and kill actual shinobi would be hard, considering how many friends they've made along the years. But you, you were perfect. A missing nin that no one cares about. Does it matter if you die? Don't take it too seriously, Zabuza. It's good business. Either way, it's not like you didn't cheat me either. The Demon of the Mist. Was that a joke? You lost to some random ninja that recently came here? You're not a demon, Gato growled. Zabuza turned to face Kakashi again. Kakashi, you are no longer my priority. End our fight. There is no motive for me to assassinate Tazuna. Kakashi gave a nod of approval. However, Sasuke. With disdain, Gato moved forward and kicked Haku in the face. This girl, or boy, just as annoying as you. As Naruto started to run towards Gato, his rage overcame him, but Kakashi stopped him by holding the back of his jumpsuit. Naruto, there's too many of them. Naruto threw his rage at Zabuza. Won't you do anything? He's disrespecting Haku in front of you. Zabuza shook his head, his arms tense. So? Haku died. So? Haku was still your friend, a comrade. There are no real friends in the world of missing nin, child. We are either tools to be used or people who use others as tools, nothing more, nothing else. Haku was a useful tool that I appreciated for his strength, so I will repeat my question. So, Naruto let out a frustrated growl. So Haku really meant nothing to you in the end? He sacrificed himself for you and you won't do anything. Just standing there? A prolonged quietness engulfed the pair, the already dense atmosphere between them growing even more so. Kunai, mumbled Zabuza. What? Kunai. Not long after, Naruto threw his kunai to the Demon of the Mist. Zabuza managed to catch the gun in his mouth. Gato cried, Hehe, emotional. Kill them all, people. Naruto was immediately filled with the sounds of multiple footsteps and battle cries as the storm of people stormed the bridge. Zabuza went to meet each of them individually. Zabuza, though, was a demon. Taking the kunai in his mouth, he slashed through the group of bandits like scissors through paper. He simultaneously sidestepped 12 swords and collided with men who were several feet taller than him. In just a few seconds, a long gash formed through the necks of several bandits, and they fell to the ground dead. For Zabuza, though, even they were too much. Zabuza's chest was pierced by swords as the group of men started to overpower him. Zabuza persisted, though. As if he were a lion on the verge of starvation, he drove the kunai deep into Gato's chest. Zabuza chuckled. Ha ha ha, Gato. I don't care if I die right now, but as long as you're coming with me to hell, I'll be happy. Not too long after, the demon completed the kill in its entirety. For the very last time in his life, Zabuza grinned. Haku, since you would be going to heaven, I won't be seeing you anymore. However, I'm grateful. In fear, Naruto swallowed his throat. Naruto cherished the sight of a true man, Kakashi remarked. All of this was excessive for a newly created genin. Naruto's eyes remained open as he assimilated everything into a single memory session. Naruto, Sasuke is alive. Naruto's pulse quickened when he looked to his left and saw the boy in the blue shirt raise his hand in greeting. I understand. Haku, you were just too kind of a person. Furious, Naruto turned to face the bandits. These guys now really deserve to die. Shadow Clone Jutsu. After a day. The funeral for Zabuza and Haku was a private affair. The burial seemed more like a routine procedure than a gesture of compassion, especially since Tazuna and Team 7 were the only ones in attendance. Which, given the lives the missing nin had held, was hardly shocking. They led solitary lives and had few friends to share in their grief. The largest memorial site was the Mountain of Swords behind Zabuza's funeral. It was a small site. It's an unfortunate thing, but don't be mistaken. Zabuza wasn't a good person. Nothing he could have done would have changed that, but he did have his heart in the right place in the end. What's even more sad is that you, Genin, had to experience a type of mission like this so early in your lives. And a rank mission. It's fortunate I was your sensei, or else. Sakura said, "Thank you, sensei," with grace. "Well, I can't do it all the time. Should we leave now?" Sasuke gave a nod. HN. Naruto peered at the tombs in front of him. "I'll come, sensei. Let me just stay here for a bit." An eyebrow was raised by Kakashi-sensei. "You sure?" "Positive." "Your wish. Sasuke, Sakura, let's go." For a considerable amount of time, Naruto remained motionless as the other members of the team moved on. The blonde had stayed behind for a reason, and it had nothing to do with wanting to brood over the two people's deaths, however tragic in the first place. He was receiving a message from the system. "Pow, new skill accomplished. Level 1 Shadow Extraction. Info. Dead bodies can be transformed into shadows using shadow extraction, and the player can use these shadows at any time. The success rate decreases as the level difference increases. The success rate decreases with increasing time elapsed since death. The success rate decreases with increasing desire to remain in the afterlife. Maximum shadows at current, 2. How come? Does this imply that? Can I bring them back as shadows?" The next query was then posed. Who ought he to heal first? Would it actually be successful? Naruto was a little dubious because this was the first real ability the system had ever granted him. Who should he target next now? Haku or Zabuza? Well, it didn't really matter, there were two spots up for grabs anyhow. However, were these shadows really those that passed away earlier? Were they the same ninjas he'd just battled the day before? Had Haku been able to bring her back later, would his sacrifice have been in vain? That was obviously not the case. However, Naruto's paranoia soon overcame his rationality. This ability allowed him to bring Haku and Zabuza back together. But suppose one of the calls was unsuccessful. For the time being, it was best to check the ability's limits. It would be simple to test the boundaries of his own abilities for the time being, given that the system stated that the harder the extraction became, the higher the level. Naruto approached Zabuza's gravestone. His heart rate was through the roof, and his hands were shaking. The sword stood similarly, begging for someone to take hold of its stilt once more, and the grave stood agonizingly still, begging to be called upon. On Zabuza, apply shadow extraction. Removing. The extraction was unsuccessful. How come? There are still 2 chances. Give it another go. Removing. The extraction was unsuccessful. There is still 1 chance left. To function, Naruto needed this. The death of Zabuza was not supposed to be so depressing. Whether it was as a shadow or the real thing, he needed another chance. Now he would not lose. He needed this extraction to summon whatever it took. Going into action. Skill, Level 1 Activation of Will of Fire. The bonus effect of Will of Fire, Level 1 skill, is a 10% increase in the success rate of extraction. Zabuza, your devotion to the sword is what got you the name Demon of the Mist. Now show that same devotion to me, the same devotion that Haku served you with. Right now. Arise. Removing. The extraction was successful. Naruto felt a surge of power leave his body like water behind a broken dam, and dark energy erupted from it. The visceral aura eventually vanished completely into the ground as it flowed directly toward the bodies buried beneath the earth. Then nothing. But then the energy began to flood back in unrelentingly. Gradually, liquid shadows emerged from the grave in the form of tendrils that gathered into a dark, formless mass. However, the shadows kept gathering, piling one on top of the other until finally forming a recognizable shape. It's unbelievable. With wide eyes, Naruto studied the monstrosity in front of him. Zabuza's dark form gave a backward glance. LV1 Shadow Zabuza. He appeared exactly as he had always done, with the exception that the hues of his clothing had been replaced by a black tint, and the humane colors that once defined his face had completely vanished. The enormous sword he always wielded rested comfortably on his back, its entire black metal body shaded. Even through the bandages on his face, there was a rough scowl. Zabuza appeared more menacing than in his prime. "Where the hell am I, brat?" In his spectral form, Zabuza growled, "Where the hell am I, brat?" For a split second, Naruto winced in terror before glaring back. Re-observing Zabuza's dead body in real life, a body he assisted in burying, was incredibly upsetting. It only demonstrated the absurd capabilities of his system and the extent of his control. "I said, where the hell am I?" the obnoxious shadow repeated. Active skill, level 1 shadow extraction. Info. As your skill level rises, the 50 MP that shadows drain every minute will decrease. The first extraction requires 20 MP. 50 MP? That is completely crazy, so that's like just 2 minutes? Naruto mentally calculated the situation, thinking incredulously. The skill was incredibly weak, at least for the time being. In the worst of circumstances, 2 minutes could mean the difference between victory and defeat. He was aware of this. However, 2 minutes was still insufficient. Zabuza was a ninja of the Jonin level, so for the time being, the 2 minutes would undoubtedly be worthwhile. Furthermore, it wasn't like he was going to be at this low level. If Naruto improved his shadow extraction level, he could undoubtedly reduce the MP drain, making the ability a formidable opponent. Naruto gave the shadow a wave and his signature smile. "Zabuza-san, this is Naruto Uzumaki. You know, the blonde kid from earlier." Zabuza gave a backward glare. "Yeah, I can tell. Now tell me, Naruto Uzumaki, why am I still alive? And more importantly, how? Since he's currently only a shadow, there shouldn't be any excuse for me to keep my ability from him, would there? I could also pretend that it was a unique jutsu that I had developed. What was it called by Kakashi-sensei? A Genkai Keke. It's my ability, a Keke Genkai like Haku had. I can summon the dead in the form of shadows or something. To be honest, it's still a work in progress like many other things," Naruto said. Zabuza's eyes got bigger. "You're telling me you can summon the dead? Is this a joke, brat? You're alive right now, so what more proof do you want? How is the afterlife anyways? Don't make a mockery of this situation. This isn't a normal Keke Genkai. The amount of things I could do if I had something like this." Zabuza cracked a dangerous joke. "Why did you summon me?" I wanted to test the ability on someone, and you happened to die recently. So I did it for you to gauge my current ability," said Naruto. With a tone of inquiry in his deep voice, the Demon of the Mist said, "You're telling me this was all a test? A test to see whether you could summon me or not? Why didn't you summon Haku first?" "I can't explain without disclosing the levels, is that right? How should I proceed here? You're a lot stronger than Haku, so I wanted to see whether I could summon you or not, pretty much." That wasn't too bad there. Zabuza nodded in agreement, then cast a strange glance at his muscles and then a curious glance at his surroundings. His eyes took on a denialistic expression. Naruto saw how he behaved. Wah! Reaching around his back, Zabuza picked up the broad, black sword and swung it wildly through the air, cleaving through the atmosphere and sending gusts of wind across the fields that rattled the leaves of the trees nearby. Although it was a remarkable demonstration of swordplay, Naruto and Zabuza noticed something. Zabuza had less power. Much weaker. Zabuza cried out in annoyance, his shadow muscles flexing as he carried on his assault. "Why am I so goddamn slow?" When Naruto realized what had happened, he paled. He would never receive such a promising ability from the system. With a simple flick of the wrist, he could never gain direct access to Shinobi at the Jonin level. No, the system forced him to work for that kind of authority. It also made the shadow itself function in this instance. The original Zabuza was far, far stronger than Shadow Zabuza. They were completely different in terms of stature, but they had the same appearance and personality. Shadow Zabuza was roughly at Haku's level, and so the 2 minutes were even less valuable. Shadow Zabuza needed to level up both his shadows and his shadow extraction because he was only at level 1 right now. Naruto hurried to correct his error. Zabuza, your form right now is much weaker than what you were when you were alive. I'm not so sure as of now, but I believe you will have to train to become stronger again or else. I'm stuck like this for the rest of my life? Zabuza asked with a smoldering look in his eyes. Naruto laughed. Technically speaking, you aren't actually alive, so yes. Zabuza sprang toward Naruto. Naruto ducked under the shadow's legs and dropped him to the ground, avoiding the attack completely with a sidestep. Without any delay, Naruto took a kunai out of his pocket and put it around Zabuza's neck. Remember that you are merely a shadow of mine, no longer a Jonin, Naruto said solemnly as he pressed down on Zabuza's neck. A massive sword slid toward Naruto's throat. The body before him scattered into the water. The same ruse. Zabuza's deep, monotonous voice echoed in his ears. You may not remember, but since you obviously forgot, let me remind you one last time. I'm Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the mist, and I have no master. Taking the massive sword out of his throat, Naruto gulped. Now, summon Haku. After giving the shadow one last, wary glance, Naruto massaged his throat to relieve the pain. Remind yourself not to aggravate the psychotic swordsman. Pow! There are 30 MP left. Once more, Naruto did the mental math. 50 seconds had elapsed in a minute, and the 20 that the first summoning cost. He had Haku's summons still. Naruto gave a nod. All right. Hurrying to get this over with, Naruto approached Haku's grave. Considering that the level difference between him and Haku was not as great as the level difference between him and the shinobi at the Jonin level, he most likely didn't have to struggle as much as he would have when summoning Zabuza. Perhaps after a try or two, Haku arise. Removing. The extraction was successful. Like the last time, a dam of energy burst from Naruto's body, shooting into the sky and into Haku's grave. The energy seemed to evaporate into the grave and be consumed by the soil. Once more, shadows gathered to form Haku's body, which Naruto quickly recognized. With his usual attire, Haku looked fully attired in all of his feminine grace, but this time everything was dark black and his skin had an odd blue tint. Haku asked, looking at Naruto with a look of obvious surprise. Where am I? Naruto searched the area for Zabuza. After all, that man would be able to explain this easier. However, nobody was visible. Pow. You currently cannot keep more than one shadow summoned at a time. Naruto let out a frustrated groan. It was almost his last minute. Listen, Haku. So pretty much, here's a summary. I have the Kekkei Genkai to summon the dead from their graves, which I have already done with Zabuza, and now you. The bad part is, you are now much weaker than normal, which I think you should be able to tell by now. Zabuza is currently around the level you were at when you were alive, meaning you would be somewhere around Genin level, probably higher. But yeah, that's it, Naruto concluded, panting after the lengthy monologue. He looked at Haku hopefully. Again, where am I? I didn't expect the afterlife to be so colorful. Pow, MP has been completely drained. All MP-related skills and abilities are deactivated. Naruto looked at the empty lands of grass before him. Okay? 2 weeks later. Pow. Quest. Protection of Tazuna completed. Rewards. Exp. 3000 class. Necromancer given title. Messenger of the Dead. Congratulations, you leveled up. Player is now LV8. 2 attribute points gained. New title. Messenger of the Dead achieved. Title. Messenger of the Dead increases the success rate of shadow extraction by 5% and increases all stats by 3% while on missions. Woohoo! Another 2 attribute points for the future Hokage. Naruto smiled happily as he looked through all of his notifications. Things were finally starting to look uphill. On the past few weeks, Naruto had spent most of his time training with Team 7 and helping finish the bridge Tazuna was so hellbent on. And finally, the hard work actually paid off. The bridge, in his honest opinion, looked beautiful. It wasn't too fancy, but managed to display a look of elegance which was fitting for the small town they were in. Tazuna had the look of a proud father as he observed his bridge from afar. I've spent so many decades dreaming about this moment. It's all thanks to you guys this is possible. I can't thank you enough, Tazuna said, tears forming around his eyes. Like I said, Tazuna-san, your amazing hospitality was more than enough as thanks, Kakashi said, bowing. Naruto smiled. It was always nice seeing people do nice things. And you, Tazuna said, directing his smile at Naruto. Me? I can't thank you enough as well, Naruto, for protecting Tsunami and Inari when it mattered the most. Naruto tried not to roll his eyes. The man has mentioned that same instance more than 100 times by now and had brought it up every single dinner and every time he was alone with him. Yeah, big bro Naruto is too cool, Inari mentioned from behind Tazuna. Fakira snickered. Big bro Naruto, huh? You've got fanboys now, Naruto? Hypocritical. Naruto wanted to say, but refrained from doing so. Grandpa, I think we should give a name for the bridge while the ninja are still here. Tazuna laughed. You're right, Inari. How about the Great Naruto Bridge? Naruto smiled as he heard the name, a strange swelling of pride in his heart, erupting immediately. But did he really deserve it as much as the others? The Great Zabuza Bridge. Naruto shook his head. The shadow would probably kill him if he did something like that. Sounds great. Kakashi laughed. If that's all, we will be taking our leave, Tazuna-san. Of course, I couldn't keep you guys here any longer after all, Tazuna answered wholeheartedly. Naruto raised a thumbs up to Inari. I'll visit later on, Inari. By then, you better be a lot stronger. You bet, Inari grinned toothily. Have a safe trip, Tsunami ushered out at last. All of Team 7 felt a gentle tug on their hearts as they finally left the small town they've been in for the last month. Naruto looked at the path ahead of him and groaned. This was going to be an incredibly long trip. Walking wasn't too hard, but the type of food they had to eat was the bare minimum, consisting of energy bars and, most importantly, no ramen. In the 2 weeks since the funeral, Naruto had resisted the urge to summon Zabuza and Haku again. For that, he had several reasons. Firstly, he was 90% sure Zabuza didn't even want to be summoned at this point. Second, he wasn't exactly sure how to deal with Haku. And lastly, the whole shadow business seriously creeped him out. Sure, the necromancy thing looked cool and all, but it was seriously weird when you thought of it from an outside point of view. Summoning the dead to be your companions. Yeah, totally normal. Naruto also felt like he would get a better idea of dealing with the issue back in his home village, Konoha. Wave was cool and all, but it didn't have Ikaraku's ramen, did it? A steamy bowl of soft, chewy noodles and the aroma of miso and pork, Naruto was already salivating. A bowl of Chuchai's ramen will definitely bring me up to speed. Hey, Sasuke, last one to the tree over there has to pay for ramen. Naruto began running at full speed. One more miso ramen, Naruto called out as he dropped another bowl onto the table before him. Sasuke eyed his wallet with widened, disheartened eyes. How much does this guy eat? Haruka was just glad he wasn't paying again. So yeah, Haruka-sensei, where was I again? Oh right, so we were fighting Slurp, this guy called Zabuza, and we found out that he was actually just a nice guy in the end. I managed to defeat everyone with a super cool jutsu, blah blah blah. I saved the whole village. Then they named a bridge after me. Isn't that cool? Haruka nodded in acceptance, not believing half of the things coming from Naruto's throat. Naruto finished another bowl and patted his belly in appreciation. That's enough for now. Okay, Sasuke, I'm done with eating. Sasuke sighed with relief. Oh, then I'll take my leave. Now you have to train me, Naruto declared. An awkward silence filled the ramen shop. Train? Sasuke questioned. Remember the jutsu you owe me? HN. Yes, Naruto cheered inwardly. A jutsu from Sasuke, and hopefully an effective one. Ever since the fight with Haku and Zabuza, Naruto had realized just how limited and short his jutsu range was, consisting primarily of the Shadow Clone and the Academy 3. They were useful in their own subtle ways, but the blonde needed something more flashy, something that would do damage. Naruto looked at Sasuke triumphantly. Which jutsu will you be able to teach? Sasuke morphed his face into a thinking pose. I don't really want to teach him anything, but considering it was a bet, I'll guess I'll have to. How about? Fine, I'll teach you something. Come to training ground 46 by tomorrow morning, around 6 or so. It's normally empty by that time, I believe. Naruto smiled. You got it. Now, which jutsu? Sasuke was gone. The blonde waved goodbye to Tuchai, Ayam, and Iruka before going on the usual route to his apartment. The route which generally avoided most crowded areas, using the alleyways littered around Konoha. The second Naruto reached his apartment, he jumped onto his couch tiredly. It had been a long month, but certainly not without its own benefits. Open. Naruto Uzumaki's name. Title: The Enthusiast. Vocation: Konoha Genin. Level: LV8. HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra 2000-2000. STR 7. Vit 10. Dex 6. Int 5. Wise 4. Luck 1. Present competencies: Jutsu Shadow Clone Level 3. Shadow Extraction LVL 1. Class: Necromancer. Points for attributes: 2. I'm facing this dilemma a lot more these days, but I guess that's a good thing. What should I add? Naruto thought to himself. The blonde felt as if it was better to not stress over the specifics of each point for once and just add them where he thought it was best. Add to dexterity and luck. Used is the attribute point. Dexterity has been increased by 1 point. Used is the attribute point. Luck has been increased by 1 point. I'm bored. I guess it's time to summon one of them. Who should it be? Naruto thought of his previous encounter with Zabuza and shivered. Yep, it was best he went with Haku, maybe fill her in with where he was right now. Summon Shadow Haku. Darkness moved like water itself, the cohesive matter combining together to form the shadow. So it wasn't a dream? Haku asked with a raised eyebrow. Naruto rolled his eyes. Hello, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the person who summoned you from the dead. You are currently in Konoha, the Hidden Leaf Village. Ah, so this is the land where the Hokage resides. Interesting. And why have you summoned me, Naruto-san? Haku asked, eyeing his surroundings. Naruto put his legs on the top of his couch. I was bored. So you summoned me, a dead shadow, to alleviate your boredom. Something like that. That doesn't sound like such a great idea in afterthought, does it? Yeah, it doesn't. Naruto didn't like that he was being patronized by the dead. It was either you or clones, and I prefer not talking to myself. Or Zabuza, of course, but I prefer not talking to him even more. Haku nodded in understanding before walking around trying to investigate the place. This is quite the magnificent house. Are you quite rich, Naruto-san? Naruto couldn't help it. He laughed out loud. Maybe it was the right decision to summon you. Haku cocked his head. Naruto shook his head. Listen, I don't have much time at all to talk with you, considering a minute has already passed by now. But for now, this much is fine. Just so you know, I won't be summoning you or Zabuza too much, and only when you're really needed or during times like now. I actually can't have others knowing about your presence, you understand? Haku nodded and then bowed. I understand, Naruto-san. For now, I'll take my leave. How exactly do I do that? Please let this work. Dissipate Haku. Haku's body rapidly became smaller and smaller as the mass of shadows turned into nothingness. Quite an eventful day, Naruto thought, yawning. The next morning, Naruto woke up to the ringing of his alarm right next to his ear, groaning and moaning in distress as the sound interrupted his precious sleep. He was about to go to sleep again before his mind seemed to directly speak to him. Sasuke's going to train you a jutsu. With that, his mind sparked into overdrive. Naruto quickly brushed his teeth, showered, wore a new jumpsuit, and put on his sandals. He double-checked his ninja gear, filled his utility bag with some protein bars as breakfast, and made his way towards the intended training ground. The numerous open fields were hard to distinguish, but Naruto managed to make his way through. Training Ground 46. The large, open expanse of grass was perfect for training, Naruto realized as he made his way through the ground. "Hey!" Naruto shrieked as he heard Sasuke's voice from behind him. He placed a hand on his heart in an effort to cool himself down. "Yo," Naruto responded. "I don't have too much time, so let's get this over with quickly. I'll give you the hand signs and some basic tips, but that's pretty much it," Sasuke said, unloading his bag onto the surface of the ground. "What jutsu are we learning exactly?" Naruto asked curiously. "Oh, I didn't tell you yet. You've probably seen me do this a lot during training or fights. Fire release, fireball jutsu. I take everything back. Sasuke is literally too cool," Naruto said with stargazed eyes. "Do you need a demonstration?" Sasuke asked. No. I need to learn this as fast as possible, Databeo. Are there any hand signs?" Sasuke grunted in confirmation. "Of course. There are 6 hand signs normally, but others with higher chakra control like Kakashi-sensei said can convert it into 4 or so. For now, we will just learn the 6. The seals in succession are snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Remember those. Sasuke tossed him a scroll of sorts, the paper fluttering as it reached his hands. "Here, all the hand formations are given in this. I don't really expect you to learn it in a week, since this jutsu is a bit of a speciality of the Uchiha clan. But try your best, and also consider my debt finished." "Of course," Naruto yelled in appreciation. "Any tips?" Sasuke rolled his eyes. "HN, first of all, do you know how this jutsu works?" Obviously, the shinobi using the jutsu just stirred up some chakra in their stomachs and released it using. "Not exactly," Naruto admitted ashamedly. Sasuke frowned slightly, his eyebrows tensing. "How am I going to do this fine? Think of it like this. A fireball jutsu isn't just made of fire, it's chakra that was turned into fire. And where does that chakra come from?" "From us. HN. So the first step is to mold the chakra in your core into fire and then release that chakra from your mouth." Naruto nodded in understanding. "So why do you put your fingers in front of your mouth like that?" "It's easier to direct the fire where you want it to go." "I understand." Naruto began going through the hand seals, his hands moving tremendously slow, but accurate nonetheless. He thanked his younger self for remembering each and every seal after failing to summon a clone for the 30th time. Snake, ram, boar, horse, tiger. Naruto felt the chakra in his stomach churn and tumble around like a wild animal stuck in a cage, and molded it to become hotter and attain the aspects of fire. The expanded and expanded in his stomach, his tummy feeling quite warm internally. Something's coming up. Naruto opened his mouth wide as he placed bent fingers in front of his mouth. "Fire release, fireball jutsu." A small trickle of flame left his mouth. Sasuke smirked. "It's not tree climbing to get it on the first try, Dobe. You better believe it will take a lot longer than that." Naruto chuckled inwardly. Truthfully, he didn't expect any spectacular result to begin with, but it was still disappointing regardless. "Asu, Asu, Asu, Asu." Naruto's ears twitched as he heard a foreign sound. Sasuke looked around himself in a similar fashion. Do you hear that? Naruto asked. Of course I can, Dobe. Naruto strained his ears even further. What the hell is it? It sounds like a chipmunk or something. The sound got even louder. It wasn't a chipmunk or any animal like that, it was a person. Probably a teenager like them, considering the higher pitch of the voice. Yes, Lee, allow the fountain of your youth to spill all over Konoha. Yes, sensei. To be more exact, it was two people. One taller and the other around their height. Most peculiarly, both of them seemed to be wearing some sort of green spandex. Naruto walked over to the spectacle, curious to see what exactly was happening. What he saw was more than shocking. The kid of their size, presumably Lee, was walking with his fingers. With one hand crossed behind his back and the other protruding only his thumb and pointer finger, did a walking handstand. Were those weights on his legs? And who are you fine, young gentleman? Naruto looked into the dazzling eyes of the older man, further shocked by how shiny his teeth were. Are they even real? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and he's Sasuke Uchiha. We're part of Team 7. Oh, Kakashi's kids. As expected from my rival, making his team exercise this early in the morning. I don't think it's worth telling him the truth. Naruto sweat dropped. The teen stopped doing his exercise. Sasuke? Sasuke Uchiha? Sasuke dully looked at the other boy. Yes. The boy, presumably the son of the other man, grinned in a way eerily familiar to his sensei. I'm Rock Lee, and I must challenge the both of you to a duel. A duel? Sasuke asked, his tone doubtful. Of course, Lee said with the same glee. With each passing moment that Naruto spent in the company of the green pair, he began to feel increasingly uncomfortable. After meeting someone, who in their right mind would ask for a duel? To be honest, that sounds like something I would have done. Naruto grudgingly acknowledged. The elder man practically yelled, Lee, and Naruto recoiled in response. Yes, Guy-sensei? Guy? An odd name. What did I tell you about challenging people to a duel immediately? A sigh of relief left Naruto. At last, an individual possessing true common sense. Lee gestured dramatically up at the sky. Never forget to say please. Naruto uttered a shocked whisper. What the? With a vague tone, as though imparting some kind of heavenly wisdom to his pupil, Guy asked, And what exactly have you done in this instance? Lee blurted, I didn't say please, sensei. What on earth is happening? Are those tears in his eyes, I wonder? I sincerely apologize, sensei. As a punishment, I will run 1,000 rounds around Konoha. That's not too horrible, is it? Naruto considered, aware of his own strength. Even though it would take an absurdly long time, it was definitely possible. Given that Naruto possessed extraordinary endurance, it would be quite simple to duplicate the punishment. However, Lee had never ceased to speak. Blindfolded, Naruto met Sasuke's gaze by turning to look to the left. It was unclear to Naruto whether the Uchiha was simply shocked or in awe of what he had witnessed. For Naruto, it was both. Regardless of why the boy had chosen to run around Konoha while wearing a blindfold, he had to admit it was an impressive feat, even though neither he nor Lee could really see the point. Even though Naruto had been playing practical jokes on the village since he was a young boy, he didn't know all the correct routes around it. Guy gave a big smile. Your youth is as vibrant as the morning sun, Lee. Guy-sensei? Lee? As soon as the newcomers started giving each other sincere hugs, Naruto recoiled in horror. Even so, what was he watching? In a similar vein, Sasuke made an effort to withdraw completely from the conversation. Guy cleared her throat. I apologize, it seems I haven't introduced myself or Lee here yet. That's true, Sasuke growled. Guy exclaimed, striking a dramatic pose. I'm the sensei of Lee here and 2 others. Together, we make up Team Guy. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. So, like us, they are a shinobi team? Does it not make much more sense now? So, they have to be from one of the years prior to us. Naruto nodded in realization. I think Kakashi told you too about me, smirking, Guy inquired. No, Sasuke stated frank. Guy fell back as though he had been hit. Am I still not worth the acknowledgement of my dearest rival? I will have to train to solve this issue. Are these people for real? I must review their statistics. Naruto began with Lee first because he thought it would be easier to assess how he stood in relation to other Konoha genin. Noting, observation accomplished, call sign Rock Lee. Prince of Taijutsu is the title. Vocation, Konoha genin. Level, LV 19. HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra, perfect score of 10. STR 15. Vit 16. Dex 20. Int 4. Wise 3. Luck 2. Naruto was shocked to see Lee's stats and realized right away how good he was. Merely a genin at level 19? Compared to Sasuke or Haku, he was more skilled. How monstrous of a creature was this guy? Before turning to look at the actual stats, Naruto's eyes slid over the following section. He made an effort not to pass out in that instant. He had never seen anything like the stats Lee had. Comparing them to someone like Sakura or, God forbid, Sasuke or Naruto was almost unfair. 13 in power, 16 in life force, and 20 in agility. How strong is this guy exactly? Naruto was never going to be able to attain those kinds of stats, much less anytime soon. Luckily though, that was also an exaggeration. It appeared that his advancement depended on the missions he was given, an entirely arbitrary element over which he had no real control. He shuddered to think of having to raise those stats to the level Lee had attained through pure training. How much training was required of Lee in order to get to this point? However, Naruto then became aware of his title and chakra. Merely 10 chakra? What? It suddenly became clear why Lee was referred to as the Prince of Taijutsu, and why his physical prowess was the focus of so many of his stats. Lee's unusually low chakra reserves probably forced him to concentrate on the extremely difficult practice of Taijutsu. Naruto scowled in understanding. He gave Guy a quick glance before making another observation. However, the outcome was extremely predictable. Noting, the observation was unsuccessful. The target is set too high. Will player accept a condensed observation? In agreement or disagreement? Indeed, reciting Naruto didn't even seem shocked. Call sign, Might Guy. King of Taijutsu is the title. Working as a Jonin sensei. Level, HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra. STR, how come? Bit, Dex, Int, Wise, Luck? Naruto developed a fresh appreciation for the comic pair in front of him. And with good reason too. After all, he was standing in front of royalty. With a desire to witness the boy battle for himself, Naruto exclaimed, "Okay then, I think introductions are over with. Lee, didn't you want to fight with Sasuke?" With a sly smile, Sasuke said, "Then we could spar. I've wanted to see how much I improved anyway." Naruto was aware that Sasuke would fail. At this point, it was almost a given. Given Naruto's own stats, which included remarkably low details like his own level, the level system wasn't always accurate. However, in battles, the more experienced opponent typically emerged victorious unless the lower level player achieved an extraordinary feat or advantage. An excellent illustration of this is his own victory over Haku, in which the Kyuubi's chakra greatly aided him. And here, unless his teammate had been keeping a secret jutsu from him for a while, Sasuke had no chance of winning given Lee's own unmatched strength and agility. However, Naruto was unconcerned with that. All he wanted to do was see if he could replicate Lee's taijutsu. Lee's thick eyebrows shot up in confusion, then fell back in realization. "Oh, I apologize for the confusion, Sasuke-san. I meant to ask whether I could spar both of you at the same time," Lee said. Naruto gave a blink. Angrily, Sasuke gritted his teeth. "This kid, is this really how I'm perceived?" Guy yelled, "Lee." Lee corrected herself quickly. "Of course, I meant no disrespect to any of you." I forgot to mention, but taijutsu is kind of my specialty, so it wouldn't really be fair to go one-on-one. With a low, clearly irritated voice, Sasuke asked, "And how would you think that without knowing my own capabilities first?" Lee urged, his eyes blazing with resolve. "Ah, is taijutsu a specialty for you as well, Sasuke-san? We must fight at once." HN. Lee took his place. "You are allowed to use any jutsu you wish, but the other rules of a standard duel do apply." Naruto studied Lee's posture, thinking that the boy had made a very strange first step. It was almost as if Lee was deliberately leaving gaps in his own defense, with one hand behind his back and the other thrust forward, as if he was calling out for Sasuke to attack. "How did I replicate Sasuke's taijutsu the last time then?" Naruto pondered in his head. In the past, the system had offered him the choice to appropriate Sasuke's taijutsu without requiring any skill on his part. This implied that Naruto had a low chance of his plan succeeding. Guy exclaimed, "You guys seem really fired up. I'll count both of you down. 3, 2, 1. Go!" Though the Uchiha pushed forward, Lee remained motionless and Sasuke charged forward. The dark-haired genin kicked out wide at nothing. Lee had already left. When Lee kicked Sasuke in the back, he felt a sharp pain that made him gasp. "If I can't even see Lee's taijutsu, how will I be able to replicate it?" Furthermore, how would Sasuke notice Lee's movements if Naruto was unable to observe them from the sidelines? Searching for a moment to gather his thoughts and regroup, Sasuke leapt backward across the field. However, he didn't even have time for that. Lee's opponent was fortunate to avoid the spinning kick that he launched across the open grass as soon as he let his guard down. With not a single hit on the boy, Sasuke sighed as he sidestepped yet another barrage of kicks and punches from the green-clad genin. "This guy, he's a monster," Sasuke yelled, "Fire release, fireball jutsu," in reaction to Lee's rapid speed. With a casual and well-practiced ease, his hands navigated through the signs, eventually transforming his body and chakra into a flaming ball that sped towards the boy, scorching the ground beneath it as it went. With his pale skin bare to the morning wind, Lee jumped over the flames, scorching the tips of his green spandex. Subsequently, the assault persisted. Different types of taijutsu. And in hand-to-hand combat, nobody defeated the prince except the king. It was a technical fight, with each blow and kick executed with careful consideration, but it was also performed quickly enough for Naruto to have to focus in order to see what was going on. Although Lee's taijutsu was fluid and full of agile movements and the like, it was obvious how much practice Lee had put into each punch and kick because of how intense they were. Although Sasuke lacked that level of intensity, he undoubtedly possessed something else. The person who shares. "I had intended to put this off until later, but now I'm at a loss." Sasuke grimaced as he thought. Two Tomo quickly circled Sasuke's pupil, causing his eyes to flash a scarlet red. At the move, Guy narrowed his eyes. "It's there. The Uchiha clan's jewel." It is not difficult to understand why Kakashi was tasked with the enormous duty of training the final Uchiha. I know the powers it bestows on its user from fighting with Kakashi countless times, but will Sasuke be able to defeat young Lee with just that? Naruto was amazed by the enigmatic ability. Other than helping Kakashi copy a couple of Zabus's jutsus, he still didn't know what it did. It was a jutsu that Kakashi had somehow acquired, and it was a Kekkei Genkai exclusive to the Uchiha. However, the outcome was evident. Sasuke's speed increased abruptly. No, he wasn't really faster. Rather, he was simply more adept at anticipating Lee's next move. For Naruto, who could now finally watch the two fights from kick to punch, it was very helpful. Sasuke now had some influence over the fight's pace, whereas Lee used to control it entirely. He made an effort to record every blow that Lee delivered, the way he ducked Sasuke's hook, and even the way he reacted to Sasuke. Looking through. Indeed, it was successful. Naruto gloried in his thoughts. Naruto waited patiently for the scanning process to be finished, since it was probably going to take some time. In the meantime, he accepted that Sasuke would eventually lose the battle. Naruto, however, was not even permitted to do that. A tone that was both cold and respectful came from behind the blonde. Guy-sensei. A second later, there was another voice, warmer and more feminine, saying exactly the same thing. Naruto spun around to see two teenagers approaching him who appeared to be his age, but were taller. The boy had a very familiar appearance, but the blonde was desperately trying to recall who he was and where he had seen him. He was dressed in dark brown shorts that exposed his lower legs and a beige shirt that was strapped up. In addition, he appeared to have long brown hair, which wasn't all that strange given Naruto's vivid blonde hair. But his eyes seemed to be the most distinguishing feature. Both of his eyes were completely pale, similar to Hinata. With a dawning expression on his face, Naruto realized that's where he had seen the boy before. Given their similar facial features, specifically their indistinguishable eyes, he and Hinata had to be related. Is it the same Kekai Genkai as Sasuke's? Naruto pondered inquiringly. Other than the clan Hinata belonged to, he had never seen anyone else. The Hyuga? Hyuga? Yes, the clan of Hyuga. The other girl was a medium-sized girl, but she had a very intimidating presence. Because of the enormous bow staff resting on her back, not because of her appearance or aura. The girl looked pretty nice, with her hair pulled back into a bun and her pick blouse. Drawing nearer to her, Naruto started introducing himself. Hello, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, genin of Team 7. Tenten pointed to the boy next to him and said, I'm Tenten, genin of Team Guy, and he's Neji HGA, also a member of the same team. Naruto asked sincerely, Hyuga, right? Do you know Hinata Hyuga by any chance? Neji gave him a cold look, nervous. Naruto suddenly realized what word had come to mind. Neji said in a monotone, Hinata Hyuga? No, I don't know her. Aw, yeah. Alright, though it sounded a lot like a lie, at least he responded to my question. Neji asked, staring directly ahead at the ongoing battle in front of them. And who is fighting Lee currently? Another leg sweep connected with Sasuke as he battled to keep moving, nearly tiring out. For what length of time? Naruto merely flinched. Lee was playing around with Sasuke at this point. Still, he responded to Neji's query. My teammate, Sasuke Uchiha, is fighting against yours. Tenten pricked his ears. Sasuke Uchiha. Neji gave a snort. HMPH. A failure fighting against another failure. Lee is just wasting his time like usual. What on earth is wrong with this man? Perhaps he could catch a passing stranger saying something along those lines, but your own teammates. Naruto clenched his fists as if Sakura or Sasuke had said something to him. Exasperated by the Hyuga's demeanor, Naruto questioned, how are either Lee or Sasuke failures? It really infuriated him for some reason that he couldn't comprehend how anyone could think that way. Perhaps because Neji's behavior went against everything he believed to be a true shinobi. Tenten made a sensible decision and kept quiet. To be honest, she learned more about the Hyuga's way of thinking from her year of fighting and training with him than she would have liked. Neji wasn't inherently bad, but he also wasn't kind. The difference between a genius and a regular shinobi is a clear one, and neither Lee or Sasuke are geniuses. The latter may have been one, but clearly isn't anymore, considering he's losing to Lee of all people. Naruto found the Hyuga's words so unbelievable. Naruto bellowed, and so are you a genius? Can you defeat Lee? Neji confidently stretched his legs and said, of course, I've done it many times. No matter how much effort or hard work Lee puts in, he can never defeat me. Him and I are living proof of the disparity between geniuses and others. Naruto was unable to accept the existence of individuals such as these in the first place. Geniuses? Difference? Who gave a damn about those beliefs? With a hint of arrogance in his voice, Naruto remarked, I'm not a genius or anything, Neji, but I still believe I could whoop you with an eye closed if I wanted to. Who knows, perhaps Naruto could take out the Hyuga by closing one eye. Take note. Neji Hyuga is his name. Title, not applicable. Vocation, Konoha Genin. Level, LV 19. HP 100,100. MP 100,100. 200 chakra. STR 13. Vit 14. Dex 15. Int 7. Wise 5. Luck 3. Oh my god, never mind. Naruto pondered sourly. Naruto would nevertheless continue to inquire as to what he wanted to do next. Naruto said coolly, "You wouldn't mind a spar, would you?" Neji spoke up without thinking. "There's no point in sparring someone much weaker than me." Naruto questioned, attempting to take a swipe at Neji's ego at the same time. "Are you sure you aren't scared that your theory is false? If Sasuke and Lee of all people are failures, I would be considered one as well, no?" It was clearly effective, judging by the way Neji's eyebrows rose. Neji took up his position fast, adopting a stance that was very different from Lee's or Sasuke's. His hands were open. "Whatever. I didn't plan on wasting any energy before my training, but considering the minimal amount I'd be using, it's perfectly fine." This arrogant bastard, Naruto furiously pondered. He was eager to remove it from his face. He turned on his Uchiha clan taijutsu and advanced on the motionless Hyuga. Nobody could say those things to him and survive to tell the story. But then his punch was caught by someone. Naruto raised his gaze to their sensei's eyes. Guy apologized with a smile as he looked at Naruto. "I'm sorry, Naruto-san, but I can't allow this fight to happen." That was not really important to Naruto. He was only irritated by how effortlessly Guy stopped him. By this, he meant that Guy simply raised his palm in the air, closed his fist, and remained motionless despite the intense pressure. Sarcastically, Naruto asked, "Why so? Isn't sparring an act of youthfulness?" "It is, surely. But sparring while a teammate is in need of help isn't very youthful, is it?" Panicked, Naruto glanced to his right. With no more energy in his body, Sasuke was on his knees, trying not to fall back onto the grass's gentle embrace. Jogging over to where he was, Naruto made no attempt to strike up a conversation. He could sense Sasuke's emotions at that precise moment. After all, Naruto had experienced it numerous times himself. It was disheartening to consider that no matter how hard you tried, you could never defeat an opponent and that there would always be a gulf between you two. "I'm sorry, Naruto-san, but your teammate refused to end the fight no matter how many times I tried to do so," Lee said with a bow. Naruto forced a "it's fine" expression from his furrowed brow. Guy later made a statement. "I'm sure you and Neji can spar it out in the Chunin exams, Naruto-san." The Chunin tests? POW! Created new quest. Schooling the Hyuga. Quest details. Win the Chunin exams by defeating Neji. Quest reward. XP. 2500. Master the Hyuga style of Taijutsu and raise Taijutsu skill level by 2. Failure. Turn into an alleged failure. Is the quest accepted by the player? In agreement or disagreement? Indeed. Yes, of course. Naruto grinned in response to the system. The blonde exclaimed, "Listen here, Neji," to the Hyuga. Naruto went on. "I'll be the one to defeat you during the Chunin exams or whatever, so don't lose to anyone else before me, you got it." And merit that delightful encounter. Neji laughed and shook his head. "You and your empty talk. Fine then. Prove to me, Naruto Uzumaki, that failures can defy destiny." Sasuke was helped to his feet by Naruto, who took up his weight while the Uchiha rested his body on his friend's shoulder. He took one final glance behind him. Going into action. Skill, level 1 activation of Will of Fire. Defy destiny? I'll do much more than that, pale eyes. Destiny is just another word for losers like you who can't admit their own defeat. I'll make my own path, my own destiny, regardless of the situation. That's my nindo, my ninja way. Yes, that is all there is to it, Naruto pondered in his head. I refuse to allow anyone to step on my path to become Hokage. Not Lee, not Neji, not anyone. Skill, Will of Fire has gained 1 level of power. Level 2 is now Will of Fire. Info: Will of Fire has the power to boost allies' spirits when used wisely. When used in close proximity to shinobi of lower rank, it is significantly more effective. Sorry, Naruto, but you're gonna do a lot more than that to beat Neji. We're in another league, Tenten kicked in. Naruto asked directly, "When did I ask for your opinion, Miss Fangirl?" Tenten was unable to respond before Naruto and Sasuke departed. Tenten gritted her teeth and said, "That guy really gets on my nerves," pulling out her staff to rehearse. Lee gave a tense laugh. "I'm sure it was just a joke." Guy-sensei let out a hearty laugh. "Naruto, it will be interesting to follow your development." The fourth would be overjoyed, no doubt. It was yet another day, yet another morning. It has been a day since Naruto first encountered Team Guy and the day Lee completely destroyed Sasuke. Sasuke's behavior had clearly changed, and Naruto was beginning to become irritated by it. The arrogant, obnoxious bastard who used to challenge Naruto in everything was nowhere to be found. Naruto longs for the former Sasuke. Unfortunately, he lacked the courage to speak to the Uchiha either. The scan is finished. Is the player interested in learning Goken Taijutsu? In agreement or disagreement? Goken? Is that the name of it? Please say yes. It had taken far longer than Naruto had expected, but he had been waiting for the scanning to end forever. It had hardly taken a minute to scan through the taijutsu of the Uchiha clan if his memory served him well. However, taking into account the relative complexity of both taijutsu styles, it made some sense. It appeared that scanning took longer for taijutsu that was more powerful or sophisticated. Mistake, what is that? Naruto thought, confused. That was not a message he had ever seen from the system before. Usually he would get a standard ding or something similar. At this time, your level of taijutsu is insufficient to learn the Goken Taijutsu style. Would you like the Goken Taijutsu style archived? In agreement or disagreement? Naturally. I realized that my progress was too rapid to acquire Lee's taijutsu on my own. Either way, it wasn't like I really needed it. What is meant by archive? Yeah, I guess organizing. Archive successfully completed. Naruto grimly examined his stats. He would lose out on more opportunities if he didn't improve his taijutsu level. But he was finding things very difficult because of the system. That made him want to take the Chunin exams. Exams that, well, were not going to happen anytime soon. With a sigh, Naruto returned his attention to the outside world. Flipping a page in his book, Kakashi asked jokingly, "So you're telling me you and Sasuke fought against Team Guy and were utterly outmatched?" Sadly, Naruto nodded. "Yes." "And you proceeded to challenge one of them to a duel in the Chunin exams, which I haven't even decided yet to put you in." "Yes." "HM. It was to be expected, of course. They have been genin for a year at least, while you guys haven't had much experience in general. And considering Guy is their sensei, they certainly would have some form of expertise in the taijutsu area." Sasuke said nothing. Kakashi saw the sadness in Sasuke's eyes. "Sasuke, don't be so disheartened. It's only obvious that Lee would defeat you. There's always someone stronger than you at the present moment. But the real difference between a strong shinobi and a weak one is what they do to overcome their own weaknesses." Sakura inquired, "What do we do, Kakashi-sensei?" with curiosity. Kakashi grinned his trademark eerie. "Train." Naruto let out a moan. The hyperactive ninja was not interested in continuing the basic drills and formations that Kakashi had been subjecting them to up until now. Knowingly, their sensei shook his head. "Don't worry, it's not just any type of training. It will be a one-on-one coaching session with each of you." Confused, Naruto asked, "How will you train us all one-on-one at the same time?" Kakashi chuckled. "I would have thought you would be able to find out, Naruto." The Jonin put his hands in an extremely comfortable position, one that Naruto had a close relationship with. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 2 of Kakashi's clones materialized out of thin air, or more accurately, chakra. The original Kakashi gave his doppelgangers the runaround. One clone will take Naruto and the other will take Sakura. So Sasuke gets the original, disbelieving Naruto. Don't whine, Naruto. Sasuke has the skill set closest to my own, and it would be more helpful to teach him personally for now. And it's not like my clones don't have the same knowledge that I do, Kakashi said, wriggling his finger. With a dejected expression, Naruto said, "Whatever. Come on, clone," and he moved to the corner of the training field. At the same moment, Sakura and the other clone moved to the other side of the field. Kids these days, they're always so impatient," Kakashi remarked, closing his book and glancing at Sasuke. Sasuke just stared back, unmoving. Suddenly, Kakashi's voice became tighter. "I'll be teaching you some important things, but before that, I think it's time for us to talk." Alongside Sakura. Sensei, what exactly are you going to teach me?" asked Sakura. The clone, in a detached manner, scratched his white hair. "The truth is, your skill set and my skill set are most likely the farthest apart in terms of similarity. So for now, it's going to be sheer taijutsu training." Sakura let out a deep moan. The clone of Kakashi pulled out his book. "Come on, Sakura, we can't have you flapping around like usual if I happen to submit you guys into the Chunin exams, can we?" Sakura gave a snort, as if within Naruto. Kakashi asked the blonde, "You wanted to learn a jutsu, right?" Naruto gave a nod. "Yes." The clone gave a loud clap of his hands. "All right, then I know what we're going to do. We need to check what your elemental affinity is." The genin listened with strain. "Elemental what?" "Affinity. It's basically which element your chakra is most attuned to. For example, my elemental affinity is lighting. Therefore, I can learn lightning jutsus at a much faster rate. It's useful to know before you start learning actual jutsus, so you can focus on a specific element at first and not waste your time trying to learn something else. Understand?" Naruto didn't really have any trouble understanding his sensei because it was fairly simple. It would therefore be better to learn jutsus from that element initially, regardless of the affinity he possesses. Had she known that before Sasuke taught her that fire jutsu, it would have been helpful. Naruto grumbled to himself. Naruto, fearing for his life, inquired, "So I won't be able to do jutsus which I'm not compatible with?" "No, not exactly. Case in point me, I'm known for copying 1,000 jutsus, but each of them aren't lightning releases, are they? It's just easier for those with the corresponding affinity to learn the jutsu, and also more effective chakra-wise." I see. How exactly do we test for my affinity?" Kakashi reached into his pocket for a hand. "I had the original give me this before we left." It was revealed to be a piece of paper when his hand raised. "Before you ask, it's not just any type of paper. It's chakra paper and has the ability to find out which type of affinity a shinobi has. Let me show you a demonstration. When I pour my chakra through here," the paper crunched satisfyingly and instantly wrinkled. A wrinkle in the paper means it's a lightning affinity. Likewise, for fire the paper will ignite. For wind, the paper splits into two. The paper crumbles for earth and becomes wet for water. With glazed eyes from excitement, Naruto exclaimed, "That's so cool." The clone made an effort not giggle. "Now you try." With great anticipation, Naruto grabbed the chakra paper from Kakashi as she gasped. His eyes widened as he held it in his hand and then sandwiched it between his fingers. He waited for something to happen as he slowly sent his chakra through the paper. Pow! Chakra paper found. You are free to select the affinity of your choice. Pick one of the options below. Flames, wind, thunderstorm, earth, water. Choose. Completely perplexed, Naruto asked. Make a sensible choice. Pow! Chakra paper found. You are free to select the affinity of your choice. Pick one of the options below. Flames, wind, thunderstorm, earth, water. Make a sensible choice. How am I supposed to make a decision so quickly? Naruto's eyebrows went up in thought. Why does it offer me this option at all in the first place? When he saw how much of Kakashi's expectant expression was visible, Naruto lifted his gaze and instantly cast his gaze downward. Folding his arms together, Kakashi asked inquisitively, "What's wrong?" Naruto stammered, attempting to sound as bashful as possible. "Hee, I'm nervous, you know." "For what? It's not like whichever element you get decides your future or something. Oh wait, it kind of does." Kakashi laughed. "Hey, take your time. I guess I'll read in the meanwhile, but I must say, it isn't like you to be so slitting about these types of things. Normally, you would be jumping up and about to find your affinity, isn't that so?" Naruto gave himself a mental shake of his head and turned to face his system again. Only Kakashi could have been so perceptive about these things. Sincerely, he had no idea what to choose, but perhaps he could try to get a response from Kakashi. In an attempt to justify his actions, Naruto bluffed, saying, "Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei, it's just that I don't want to get a lame affinity like Earth or something, so I'm sort of anxious right now." I wouldn't underestimate any element, Naruto. Often, it's the surrounding and the opponent we face against that chooses the effectiveness of an element. Yes, that does make sense. It would have been nearly impossible to use jutsus like fire against the water behemoths that Haku and Zabuza had created with the hand signs they spun through during their battle. Thus, Kakashi didn't directly respond to my question about which element to choose. Naruto started to concentrate, putting a hand around his head. The great question was still unsolved. Which component, in all likelihood, should Naruto choose? Kakashi would become suspicious if he continued to take such an absurd amount of time just to fuel some chakra to the paper. To put it mildly, it was awkward, even though it wasn't really important. I should go over each element individually and choose the best one through the process of elimination. Declaring to himself, Naruto nodded satisfactorily at the thought. Fire came first. It was the most conspicuous option, but it was also a legitimate one. Naruto was certain that choosing fire would greatly boost his firepower, both literally and figuratively, but he was wary of the element's flexibility. Naruto has only faced water users thus far, so he is generally cautious around the element. However, it would aid in my learning of Sasuke's jutsu. Wind came next. Naruto was unsure of how to feel about this one. Since he had never witnessed anyone employ any form of wind jutsu, he was unable to truly assess the advantages and disadvantages of this kind of element. For now, it might be best to mark this as resolved. Lightning, that seemed promising. Most likely the most stylish of all of them. Given that it belonged to Kakashi, it would be helpful for training. Earth? Nope, never. Again, it's not that Naruto was trying to minimize the importance of Earth-style jutsus, it's just that he never really witnessed them in action. Unless he included the jutsu in which Kakashi surprised him by emerging from beneath the surface, but that was only a preview of its potential. Water then appeared. This was by far the best option available. When Zabuza and Kakashi engaged in combat for the first time, Naruto witnessed the full potential of water jutsus, which was a very enlightening moment for the genin. Water's adaptability and ferocity were evident throughout the matchup, and this seemed to have a greater bearing on his choice. However, the training factor was undoubtedly the primary factor influencing his choice. Lightning offered him the chance to train with Kakashi, but the Jonin was a single man and did not always have the time to dedicate himself to learning jutsus. But Naruto could summon Zabuza and Haku with much greater ease, and that was what they would train him for. With both of them skilled with the element of water, there was no better choice. That's it, I've made up my mind. Naruto inhaled deeply and clenched the paper. Water is my choice. You've made a decision. Greetings, water is your elemental affinity. Note, using water style, jutsus increases stats by +5 and chakra efficiency by +25%. The chakra paper became wet in response to Naruto's chakra, and he felt water seep along the sides of his fingers. Kakashi grunted in astonishment. Ah, you've finally done it, huh? Water? Can't say I expected that, to be honest. Yeah, me neither. With a loud snap, Kakashi shut his book. You know how jutsus work, right? We bring chakra out of our core and manipulate to our needs, creating what we know as jutsus. Naruto agreed with a hum. Yep, that's obvious enough. Well, this is where it gets a bit tougher. Nature transformation, have you ever heard of it? Naruto had the impression that he was being drawn abruptly into a new training and knowledge realm. Oh no. Pow. New title accomplished. Stormbringer. Title. Stormbringer gives plus 15% chakra efficiency when using both water-style jutsus and lightning-style jutsus, along with increasing all other stats by 5%. How come? This title, it has to be the strongest one yet. I am 40% more efficient with water when I add up the 5% increase in all of my other stats and the 15 extra points in water. And the completely random increase in lightning, it's only 10% away from actually having an affinity. I can therefore concentrate on lightning as well. Naruto was thinking in amazement and delight that the system was finally giving him some gifts that he felt were truly deserved. Equip Stormbringer. Equip title. Stormbringer. Equipping Stormbringer means the genin of Konoha title will be replaced, as the user does not have the multi-title ability unlocked yet. In agreement or disagreement? Multi-title. Whatever. Indeed, Naruto zoned his way back to Kakashi. The clone stepped forward. Well, you're about to find out. For your first jutsu, it's a bit unorthodox, but how about we learn? Meanwhile, Hiruzen Sarutobi prepared himself. As the Hokage of the Leaf, he rarely did so. But when pitted against one man, it was mandatory to do so. Or else, the consequences would be dire. The man in question entered his room without permission, seating himself in the chair across from Hiruzen. With half of his face bandaged, Hiruzen could only tell what he was thinking by the man's left eye. Danzo. And so the bout started. They talked like old friends, but they both knew that it wasn't the case truly. Maybe once, but certainly not anymore. The atrocities Danzo had done in the name of Konoha had made sure of that. Hiruzen, I have a proposal. Sarutobi knew it was coming, for Danzo always placed a hand on his cane for a brief second before asking for something. But which is? For the upcoming Chunin exams, the council and I have decided to implement a new rule. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. Without the Hokage to approve? Danzo chuckled, the deep voice echoing throughout the small room. Of course not, Hokage-sama. This is why I have come here to tell you our idea. I believe you will agree with it as well once you hear of it. Speak. The mandate is as follows. All teams that wish to enter the coming and future Chunin exams must have a compulsory B rank mission completed. That's unusual, Hiruzen noted with a frown. And why is that? Danzo smirked slightly. For many reasons. I'm sure you've noticed by now, but the rate of death in the Chunin exams is, quite frankly, more than high. Not only is a Konoha shinobi dying a horrible thought in its own right, it would be an embarrassment for us when other villages enter. I'm sure you wouldn't care for the first reason, but I can't be given the right to speak as well. Hiruzen snapped himself out of his thoughts. Regardless, why change such a rule now? And what effect would applying such a rule even have? It would be fishing out the good teams from the rest, wouldn't it? Only teams which are capable enough to successfully complete a B-rank mission would be fine during the Chunin exams, wouldn't they? Not only would this decrease the death rate in the exam, but it would also more accurately show the strength of Konoha to the other villages. Unsurprisingly, he gives valid points. I really can't give an honest rebuttal. I see no other choice. Thank you, Danzo. You and the rest of the council have done well. Danzo nodded humbly, but the faint smile was still present on his face. Now, what is the real reason for all of this? Hiruzen demanded. Danzo's smile faded. Why would there be any other reason? You and I both know I care about this village just as much as you, regardless of who is the Hokage or not. Hiruzen just sighed. He was getting too old for this political play. He took a long drag from his pipe before letting it out from the window of his room. Can't wait to finally retire. Hiruzen smiled warmly. Naruto, I'm placing my bets on you. 1 month later. Naruto roared in determination he wouldn't lose here. He had already lost count of how long he had been under the sun, but at this point it didn't matter. Next to him was his rival Sasuke Uchiha, who was in the exact same position as the blonde. Both of them were in the plank position, sweat pouring down their chins and falling to the soft grass underneath as time continued to pass on, and the pain continued to build relentlessly. "You can do it, Sasuke-kun," Sakura cheered from the sideline. Naruto gritted his teeth. "Got him, annoying teammates, but I won't waste my energy speaking." Kakashi came back to the real world next, peeking up from his regular book. "You guys are still doing the exercise? I never said it was a competition." "Shut up. Shut up." Both Naruto and Sasuke shouted out loud as the last of their energy started to deplete. "Pow, vitality has increased by 1 level." Naruto dismissed the message immediately. "Just a few more." "Ugh." Sasuke fell to his stomach first. Naruto immediately fell right afterward, glad to be finally done with the whole exercise. It was a basic one, but it certainly still hurt when done for prolonged periods of time. "Told you I'd win," Naruto said smugly through his panting state. Sasuke didn't even look like he could speak as he clutched his stomach. A month had passed since Naruto had chosen his elemental affinity, and in that time, Team 7 as a whole had continued their training at a moderately fast rate. Faster than what they had been doing before the wave mission, of course. At least once a week, Kakashi would conduct a private training session with each member of the trio, something which drastically improved the lacking points of each genin. For Naruto, the Jonin had worked on a way to improve his lack of firepower. Whenever his affinity had been revealed to be water, he began training the blonde in a specific jutsu, which he thought may reveal itself sooner or later to be incredibly crucial in the future. For Sakura, Kakashi had not done much except for work on her taijutsu and strength in general. Whether it was in the form of exceedingly long spars and gruesome exercises for hours straight, he made sure Sakura was stronger by the end of the day. Sasuke was a much more complicated issue when compared to the other two. To begin with, he didn't have the right mindset. His loss to Lee was greatly devastating to his ego and pride as a shinobi, and thus Kakashi had to waste some time beating the broken ego out of the Uchiha before the actual training he was put through. At least, that was all that Naruto himself knew. He had tried to poke out the secret of the training Sasuke had gone through, but the whole deal was lip-sealed. This was why Naruto was incredibly curious to finally see all of his teammates' stats. He had abstained from doing so during the first month of training because he wanted to test his own improvement against the others. Without any more hesitation, he first made an observation of Sakura, noting, "Observation accomplished. Name, Sakura Haruno. Title, not applicable. Vocation, Konoha Genin. Level, LV6. HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra 100,100. STR 4. Vit 4. Dex 3. Int 6. Wise 3. Luck 5. That's a pretty good improvement. Naruto thought, eyes creased, thinking about back when he had first gotten the ability. He shuddered as he reminisced about the pink-haired girl's stats back, then they were practically no different from a civilian. Hell, they were less than Naruto's own, who at that point had no real ability if he didn't count his shadow clones. He glanced at Sasuke, swiping his head to the right, where the genin was still flat on his stomach. Take note. Noting. Observation accomplished. Name, Sasuke Uchiha. Title, Last Uchiha. Vocation, Konoha Genin. Level, LV14. HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra 250,250. STR 10. Vit 8. Dex 16. Int 7. Wise 4. Luck 2. Not too shabby. He definitely improved at a steady pace. It's not surprising his rate of leveling up was lower than mine considering he was already at a higher level. Naruto noted with a thoughtful frown. Naruto's own stats. Hey, Naruto, quit slacking around, Sakura shouted from somewhere further away than where she once was. Naruto was so deep in his thoughts that he unconsciously toned out everything else, something which seemed to happen a lot more recently when he opened his system. The blonde began running towards the rest of the team. Wait for me. Kakashi patted Naruto's hair affectionately. As if we would leave with you, Naruto. That sounds exactly like something you would do, Naruto deadpanned in return. Kakashi exaggeratedly placed a hand on his heart. Your words hurt me, my dear student. Sasuke coughed into his elbow. Sensei, please get to the matter at hand. Sakura nodded in agreement. You're right, Sasuke, Kakashi said, his voice instantly switching to what Naruto called Jonin mode, signaling that he was finally about to say something serious. We have been called directly to the Hokage's office. The Hokage's office for something other than a mission? Sakura questioned in disbelief, the look of surprise on her face easily noticeable. Sasuke and Naruto were also surprised, but for different reasons. Both of them had been to the office several times and were used to the humbly small and functional area. And for what reason? Sasuke asked, voicing Naruto's own question faster. And this is when it starts getting into more serious territory. Kakashi adjusted his walking pace, slowing down so it would be easier to talk. I guess I have to start from a month ago, don't I? There were talks about a new mandate which would drastically change shinobi traditions. How come we didn't come to know about that? Naruto asked. Well, it was top secret at that time. Not even Jonins had the right to know. Naruto wasn't going to ask how Kakashi knew, and it looked like neither of his teammates wanted to either. He didn't blame them. Sakura hummed thoughtfully, wringing her fingers together. And what exactly does the mandate entail, Sensei? I don't know the entire details to be completely truthful. All that I know is that it details towards the Chunin exams, which is the reason you must pay extra attention towards whatever the Hokage tells you. Naruto smiled. You can count on us, Sensei. They went out of the training fields after that, engaging in some small talk here and then. Then they finally reached their destination, the academy. The office was located in the administrative section of the academy, so it was quite a nostalgia trip to go through the rooms once again, this time as a real ninja. To think that I couldn't do a clone jutsu back then, Naruto whispered to himself, chuckling. Kakashi passed by the secretary without a word, not needing to actually show an ID card or anything else. Without hesitation, he knocked on the door to the Hokage's office. Come in. Naruto enthusiastically went in right after, wanting to tell the old man about what all he learned in his few months as a genin. That was, until he saw that there was another man in the office besides Hiruzen. Kakashi bowed. Hokage-sama, Danzo-sama. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 did the same. Naruto eyed the man called Danzo warily, but that wasn't without reason. The innate aura that the person emitted was enough to scare out Jonins themselves. It was creepy, almost, like a sense of dread overcoming him. The feeling that someone could be behind you at any moment in time, forcing Naruto to keep a shield of paranoia active. But he was still going to conduct the observe, obviously. Noting, the observation was unsuccessful. The target is set too high. Will player accept a condensed observation? In agreement or disagreement? Indeed. Name, Danzo Shimura. Title, The Darkness of the Shinobi. Occupation, Leader of Root. Level, HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra, STR, how come? Vit, Dex, Int, Wise, Luck? What does this all mean? Naruto asked himself, eyes wide at what he saw. Darkness of the Shinobi? Leader of Root? It was something above his current pay grade. Naruto had a vague feeling that he wasn't supposed to actually know anything of what he saw, so decided to ignore it for now. It's best I look before I leap for now. He looked at the Hokage questioningly. The man had an odd apologetic look on his face, but the comforting smile was still present. To think of it, I've never used observe on the old man, did I? Noting, it's obvious how this will end up. The observation was unsuccessful. The target is set too high. Will player accept a condensed observation? In agreement or disagreement? Indeed. Name, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Title, The Professor. Occupation, Hokage. Level, HP 100,100. MP 100,100. Chakra, STR, how come? Vit, Dex, Int. Wise, Luck, nothing new to learn here. You were called in here to learn about the new mandate, which will be effective starting from today, but I'm sure you already knew that, Kakashi, Danzo said, his soft laugh unnatural with his rough look. Kakashi feigned ignorance, but knew it was pointless. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. I'm sure you don't, considering your insight into the Anbu. Regardless, let me recite the mandate to you. He cleared his throat. Those teams wishing to compete in the Chunin exams must have at least a B-rank mission recorded in their activity list. A B-rank mission? Kakashi's face immediately lightened up in recognition. So that's their goal. Isn't a B-rank mission too high for some of the Genin teams, regardless of their ability? Kakashi asked curiously. Hiruzen spoke up next. While it is stated as B-rank mission, they are, to be honest, more so C-rank than B. The missions are mostly non-combat related and won't consist of too much fighting. That's what you said for the mission in Wave, Naruto thought incredulously. It had to be a curse at this point. Naruto tried to ignore Danzo and his piercing gaze as he spoke. If I may ask, Hokage-sama, haven't we already finished a rank mission before? Hiruzen laughed at the use of Hokage-sama from Naruto of all people. Yes, it's true. It's recorded that Team 7 have successfully completed a rank, however, other villages won't see it that way. They are only counting the missions from this month onwards, for whatever reason. Will we be assigned the mission right now? Kakashi inquired. Correct, the Hokage said, pulling out a stack of papers. He flipped through some pages in a binder before stopping. Your mission is to capture a group of bandits and bring them back alive to Konoha forces in a maximum of 2 weeks. That is the only objective. You must be wondering why it is a B-rank mission, right? Naruto gave a nod. The bandits are sanctioned near Iwa borders. Kakashi immediately swerved his head towards the Hokage in shock, looking between him and Naruto rapidly. The Hokage merely nodded, recognizing the Jonin's predicament, but refrained from answering. Is he insane? Kakashi thought with confusion. The chances of Iwa Shinobi appearing and recognizing Naruto is quite low, but the risk is just as high, no, much higher. If they wage war against the Jinchuriki of all people. Yet, there has to be a different reason. The two people in front of me are too smart to make such a drastic mistake, but what could it be? Iwa, isn't that one of the other shinobi nations? Naruto asked no one in particular. Danzo smiled, but not in a condescending manner. Correct, Naruto. So why this mission in particular? Kakashi asked, dreading the answer. Danzo's smile seemed to widen even further. The truth is, you aren't the only team who received this mission. Naruto's face scrunched up. Hey, who else is there? Lee's team? Shikamaru? Kiba? They aren't from Konoha. Yes, someone from Iwa received the same mission. You see, this mission isn't really a mission. It's an early competition between the participating villages of the Chunin exams. Kakashi's thoughts were correct. These madmen, there's more than Suna attending. Danzo smirked as he got up from his chair, his voice grandiose as ever, sending chills down Naruto's spine. Next month, Konoha will be hosting the first ever International Chunin exam. Ding. New quest. International Chunin exam created. Quest details. Join as a contender in the upcoming Chunin exam. Quest rewards. Exp. 1000 perk. Unlocked. Failure. Die. Does player accept the quest? in agreement or disagreement.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.